Abandoned buildings, crumbling streets, and overgrown lots paint a picture of some place that once was, now relics of the past and quiet reminders to the passage of time etched with societal problems. A backdrop of daily life in communities, left to navigate streets in the midst of abandonment, and the presence of prosperity towering in the distance. Like vacant lots and abandoned buildings, food deserts reveal deeper struggles, where food insecurity forces families into poor nutrition, exposing long-term health decline and community hardship. Food insecurity is the limited or uncertain availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods, or limited or uncertain ability to acquire acceptable foods in a socially acceptable way. On the other hand, food security for a household means access by all members at all times to enough food for an active, healthy lifestyle. Food security includes at a minimum the ready availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods, assured ability to acquire acceptable foods in a socially acceptable way, that is, without resorting to emergency food supplies, scavenging, stealing, or other coping strategies. As a nation, 47.4 million people experienced food insecurity in 2023. A contributing factor to food insecurity are food deserts, where people have limited access to affordable, healthy food options. In urban areas, this is defined as a neighborhood having a supermarket that is more than 1 mile away. In many major U.S. cities, nearly 1 in 6 parcels of land are considered vacant. Along with vacant lots, abandoned buildings often tell a deeper story, one of worsening health and communities struggling under the weight of long-term distress. When people can't afford nutritious food, they often become trapped in a cycle of issues stemming from food insecurity, such as poor nutrition, higher risk of chronic diseases, social isolation, mental health issues, and increased healthcare costs. The study's state-level and county-level estimates of healthcare costs associated with food insecurity, using multiple national data sets, estimates that in 2016, food insecurity among 28 million adults and 13 million children in the U.S. resulted in approximately $52.9 billion in excess healthcare costs.
This leads us to our call of action. A lack of healthy food leads to a diminishing community. Come together to build and realize the healthy community that you desire through adaptive reuse and remediation.
An intervention analysis in the city, Chicago, Illinois. The 3 main aspects that make up the context of our study are defined as urban fabric, where the boundaries of city infrastructure are analyzed; policy, where zoning regulations and land banking practices are accounted; and social, where our intervention to address food insecurity requires social involvement from the broader community, including policymakers and the disenfranchised, in order to see this positive, healthy change.
Chicago is a great example of this concept, as it already has projects similar to what we are proposing. An example of this most similar to is the Green Era Campus Project, in which it takes vacant lots and creates community hubs that focus on bringing education, jobs, and healthy food options to communities. This project already has created over 300 jobs and built a strong community support and gathering. Remediation projects focus on waste disposal and reuse, whereas our focus is more on the food itself. This leads to another project in Chicago that is adaptive reuse, in which this rooftop project is similar to our proposal but is on a much smaller scale, meant to only satisfy its occupants. This project is called the 1516 West Carroll Avenue Adaptive Reuse Building / Converge Architecture Project, in which they converted a forgotten area of a building, breathing new life into the rooftop garden, producing fresh food for the inhabitants.
Methods: making use of published government agency data such as U.S. Department of Agriculture and U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, a cross-analyzation of HUD-defined opportunity zones, and USDA food access research can help us develop areas of focus. Within these focus areas, we plan to adapt existing abandoned infrastructure, remediate existing vacant landscapes for the purposes of food production, as well as empower local residents through surveys and workshops to create awareness and find partnerships to share in the proposed intervention. Study of the historical development of cities and previous food-related businesses that entered and left communities can help further develop interventions that are more contextually sensitive. Possible variables to measure our intervention include grocery store locations, fast food locations, cost of food goods over time, distance to food access points, locations of vacant landscapes, and locations of adaptable infrastructure.
Roseland, a Chicago community with 38,816 residents, was selected as a potential site for the regeneration project due to its significant food insecurity challenges. The rate of which from 2020 was 47%, which reflects systemic issues that contribute to poor health outcomes and reduced quality of life. Many census tracts also face transportation barriers, with over 100 households in several areas lacking vehicle access and residing more than a half a mile from the nearest supermarket. The selected project site in Roseland is also situated within a recognized food desert, underscoring the urgency of addressing food insecurity challenges in the area. A potential site for the regeneration project and subject of our study area is in South Roseland, near West Pullman on Chicago's south side. Key neighborhood features include Palmer Park, Curtis Elementary School, and multiple community groups, varying from charity organization to churches. The current zoning along South Michigan is primarily designated for business use, which allows for indoor urban farming. Additionally, there is a healthy mix of commercial zoning that permits urban farming both indoors, outdoors, and on rooftops. Vacant properties owned by the city and privately are scattered throughout the study area. The lack of food access is evident through the study area, which coincides with the data gathered. Available food sources include 4 restaurants along with a Family Dollar. A transit system runs through the study area, providing opportunities to strengthen neighborhood connections. Scattered vacant buildings offer sites for the regeneration project, with 11347 South Michigan identified as a strong candidate for the main hub. A nearby alleyway network offers a chance to boost pedestrian connectivity. Repurposing them in phases could support an active transit and the growth of the campus. Future expansion of the campus targets large available sites to support growth, community outreach, and a stronger neighborhood presence.
The repurposing of neglected infrastructure will establish an American model focused on educating and empowering people to make healthy food choices and inform policymakers and designers on the need to establish sustainable food systems capable of feeding everyone. Community-based adaptive reuse and remediation projects can step in as a potential solution or mitigation for the increasing issue, helping to breathe new life back into abandoned spaces and forgotten communities by having people work together to make a better tomorrow. The regeneration is inevitable, nourishing both minds and bodies for a healthier future.